This is Pod Populi, podcast for the people.
Welcome back to the Cinnamon Effect. I'm Kimberly Hand, and today I'm here with Joy Groover.
Hi.
Hi. Joy has such an amazing story. She's a mom of two, but was recently a surrogate for her niece at 49 years old.
At 49.
At 49.
Yeah.
And I, asked you some questions in advance and was already like tearing up reading your responses. And I just feel like you guys are going to have to grab your tissues listening to this story. I'm so happy to have you, Joy.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for wanting to share your story. I think it's truly incredible. And I was telling you that I had seen you did a maternity photo shoot with your niece. Yep. And it was so beautiful. And that's what drew me. I saw the pictures and I thought, oh my gosh, what's happening here? And then you briefly told, a little bit of background on the story. And I was like, we have to talk about this. So can you talk a little bit about your relationship with your niece, how close you guys were, and we'll lead into how you made this incredible decision to be a surrogate for her?
Sure. Yeah. I am the youngest of 6 kids. So my sister lived with us for a little bit after she was divorced, and so she raised her daughter in our home, my niece Amy, and she is 10 years younger than me, but I was the youngest of the 6, so I didn't grow up with any siblings really in the house because there was a pretty big age difference between my next brother, who was 8 years older than me. Okay. So we grew up like sisters, and I watched her, steal my makeup and, wear my lotion and my perfume and get into all my stuff and just, normal sister things. And she just, as time went on, she didn't get a period. And so they took her to the doctor and found out that she had something called MRKH syndrome, which is she's born without a uterus, fallopian tubes. But she was born with 2 functioning ovaries. So, I'm 10 years older than her, so I'm not really thinking much of it. She's 13, and I'm living my life, and she's doing her thing as a 13-year-old. And, as she started to get older and started to get into more serious relationships as she got older, it started to weigh a little bit more heavy on her to go, I'm starting to think of a future. I'm starting to think of what my life might be like without kids. And, we had, all the sympathy in the world for her and tried to support her through it. And she just, it just kind of waxed and waned. It wasn't something that was always, burdening her. I was going to ask, was there any other repercussions of her condition, like on a day-to-day basis, like how she lived her life? It's just that she didn't have those things in her body. She would have never known until, the absence of a period is really what raised the alarm to go, okay, something's maybe off. But I go off and living my life, and she's getting into relationships. And so as we get older, she'd send me articles and be like, oh, there is this cutting edge, uterine transplant surgery in Sweden. And, and she'd send me all the information and be like, that'd be so amazing. And she ends up getting into a relationship with her now husband, George, and they get married in 2011. And about that time, I was going to say, she gets married they met in 2011. And then I'm with my husband, and we are in the process of trying to have our kids. And so I'm inching 40. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, we gotta do this now. So we struggled a little bit with fertility because of my age. Yeah. And so while I'm doing this, parallel to my life, she's in this relationship and she's starting to talk to this guy and go, hey, listen, you're cool. I want to have a relationship with you. I'd like to get married one day, but I can't have kids.
But I can't have kids. And George was okay with that.
He was okay with it. He was okay with it. And he was good with whatever they wanted to do, whether they were going to adopt or try on their own somehow. And at that time, they didn't know what that looked like, But my niece Amy was always hopeful. She was never negative about it. She was never like, woe is me, or, why did this happen to me? It was always, you know what? I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah, she's going to find a way.
I'm going to find a way. And if I don't, I don't. But, I'm going to figure it out. So I ended up having my first baby at 40.
Okay.
And then we were trying for a second and had no luck. And then miraculously at 43, we got our second daughter, Nora. And and just in the chaos and the whirlwind of raising children and milestones and just day-to-day life, I'm still offering my support to Amy and George and their journey. And they, at that point, they were married at that point when they got married, I think. Let's see, Hannah was born in 2015. So they were married in 2015.
Okay.
Just after she was born. And so we, I'm trying to think. So that was 2015. And then she had heard that they had moved to Dallas. And so she had heard that in Dallas at Baylor University that they were doing they were bringing the uterine transplant over to the United States for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And so she applied, and she was chosen to undergo a uterine transplant surgery, which would be the first in the United States.
Wow.
And so she was in a group, I want to say, of about 10 girls. She was the first one to go in for surgery. It was an 18-hour surgery. It wasn't successful, unfortunately. There were 2 girls in the study group, though, of the 10 that did have a successful uterine transplant and subsequent pregnancies, had pregnancies from it and carried to term.
So hers, did the uterus did she get a uterus in it?
She did.
Okay.
She did. And I don't remember how long her body held on to it. It held on to it for a while, but it just wasn't safe to keep it in, so they removed it.
Okay.
And
probably pretty grueling of a surgery.
It was a very grueling 18 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, she's so small and frail, and it was just they were sending me pictures and videos from the hospital, and it was so dangerous. I remember she sent me the waiver that she had to sign before the surgery, and it was like death all the way through, and I'm like, that's are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
And even after she went through all of that, there was a part of her that was like, will they let me do it again? Will they let me try again?
Wow.
And we all were like, please don't. Like, it's not going to be safe. Don't do that.
Yeah. But she was really feeling maybe some desperation at that point.
Yeah.
Do you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think she always held on to that. She was always hopeful, but I do think that there was a part of her that was always just yearning, this constant yearning to have a child of her own. And so after that failed, she had 3 different surrogates that she had tried, but they never quite got to the transfer phase for whatever reason. And they had, poured a lot of money into these surrogates, and nothing came of it. And, again, parallel lives. I'm living my life. She's living her life going through all this. So we're texting every single day, and I'm offering my support and, just listening to her talk about all these things that she wants to do. And she's buying baby clothes, and she's buying things for her hope chest so that someday she's going to have, this baby. So she always had it in her mind. She always had that vision. It was going to come to fruition one day.
Yeah.
She didn't know how, but it was going to. And I joke that they started adopting dogs.
Yeah.
So they have 6 really big dogs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Great Pyrenees and Huskies.
Oh wow.
So two Great Pyrenees and 4 Huskies.
Their children.
Their children, exactly. So those were their babies. So I'm sending her pictures of, my kids, and she's spoiling them like just an amazing aunt that she is. They're cousins. They're cousins by, biologically, but because we grew up as sisters, we say that they're, Amy's their aunt.
Yeah.
And so Aunt Amy spoils them big time. So she was living vicariously through me and all the stories and videos I'd share with her. And, she'd send me the updates on the dogs. And I guess, let's see. I mean, the girls were in school at that point, and they were, I, was happy with my job, and I felt comfortable with everything. And I had never thought about it before, Kimberly.
Oh,
ever.
really? See, this is the part I'm curious about, because I feel like, was it in the back of your mind that maybe one day you would do this?
No.
Okay, so take me to that moment, because you said you just texted her and said, "Why not me?
Yep. Why
can't I help?"
I got goosebumps. So yeah, it was one of those moments. I had thought about it in the sense of, it's too bad I'm so old. It's too bad I struggled so hard to have my kids, and I wouldn't be a good candidate because I'm so old. And
isn't that crazy, the things we tell ourselves?
I know.
Yeah.
And I mean, looking back now, I'm like, you're fine.
Yeah.
So
wait, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Did you, before you texted her, did you say anything to your husband?
No.
No.
No. And he'd go on to say later, he's like, I think you've already made up your mind. So there's no talking you out of it. And I just texted her and I said, why not me? Why couldn't I try? And she texted back, are you serious, Joy? Are we going to make a baby?
Oh my gosh.
So I said, well, what's the next step?
Yeah.
And she reached out to her fertility clinic in Dallas, and they said, well, she'd have to get a note from her doctor first to make sure that she's able to do this. And so that was what got the ball rolling. And in the back of my mind, I'll be honest, I was like, you know what? At any time, somebody's going to call my bluff. And they're going to be like, can't do it. Like at every doctor's appointment, I was like, this is going to be the one that they're going to be like, no, you're not going to be able to do it. And every single one was like another door just like opened. Another open door just kept door after door, domino after domino just kept falling into place. And I just kept going, nope, somebody's going to call my bluff at some point, right? No.
Yeah.
No, I mean...
Were you kind of chicken? Were you like, oh my God, I really have to follow through on this?
Part of me a little bit, because I think I did expect somebody to call my bluff. I was prepared either way. I was like, I'm going to go into it. But to get to each one of those points, it was wild. It was just the wildest feeling to be like, oh my gosh, I can do this? Because like you said, you put all these self-doubts into your mind with your negative self-talk and be like, I'm too old, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're, taking a pregnancy test at 48 and it's positive and it's crazy.
Wow.
So I got vetted by my OBGYN, and he said, I will give you my blessing, but I want you to get checked to make sure that you are in like tip-top shape. I want you to see, a gastroenterologist. I want you to get a mammogram. I want you to see a psychologist. I want you to see all these people to make sure you are like the perfect vessel. Mm-hmm. And got a seal of approval from every single one of them. And then the last one was to go see her doctor in Dallas, Dr. Putman, who was at the Fertility Center of Dallas. And I flew out there and met with him, and he said, you know what? I don't care about your age. I only care about your uterus, and your uterus is in great shape. And everything else, hormones, things like that, we can manipulate with medicine.
Now, did you have like your pregnancies with your daughters? Mm-hmm. Did you like enjoy being pregnant? Was it, you had easy pregnancies? Okay. So you were like, okay, I could do this.
I did. I mean, my husband will go back and be like, remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember how bad your morning sickness was? Do you remember this? And the morning sickness was horrible with both girls. Horrible. But it's like they say with childbirth, after you have the baby, you don't remember like how horrible all that was. So I think I had put myself in this position because my daughter at that point, let's see, it was like 5 years. I'd been pregnant 6 years ago by the time I got pregnant again with the baby. And I think I had put it all out of my mind with rose-colored glasses to say, oh, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah, of course. Time passes and you're like,
Yeah, it's like it wasn't that bad. So my pregnancies with them were very easy, no complications, no preeclampsia or anything like that. And then when I got pregnant, I was reminded of all the things. I was like, oh, right, I forgot about this part.
Yeah.
So it was pretty wild to go through it.
So you get the seal of approval from everybody.
Yeah.
The psychiatrist, I'm interested in, like, what were their concerns for you?
It was, and again, going through even the psychologist evaluation, I was like, at any time they're going to say, you're crazy.
Yeah.
You cannot carry this child. You are like out of your mind. And their questions were, I had a lot of people ask me this. What if you want to keep the baby? Do you think you're going to want to keep the baby? How do you think this is going to affect your children? Are you concerned about that? How are you going to approach this? How are you going to approach that? What's your relationship like with your niece and her husband? What's it going to look like? Because they live in Dallas and you're in Florida. What's that going to look like as far as the relationship goes? And I guess I had all the right answers.
Yeah.
Because they gave me a seal of approval on that too. They're like,
I said, you're good.
You can go on to the next one. So those are basically the questions, just to check my mental readiness and what that would look like. And you can prepare yourself mentally all you want, but once it actually happens, wasn't anything like I expected.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Wasn't anything. It was harder.
It was harder. I expected, I didn't, backing up. So excuse me.
It's okay.
After, the readiness of all of it is where I was going with that. So what was the question again?
It was harder than you anticipated. Oh, yeah. Mm.
So,
like, you can plan for it, but
right. I'm trying to think where my mind just totally went blank.
You pick wherever you want to go.
Yeah. So,
sorry.
I'm thinking of the, what's with the frogs in my throat?
All of a sudden.
What's going on? We're getting choked up and we haven't gotten to the good parts.
Yeah.
So you're not prepared for the separation of it all. So backing up. So things that led me here. I had great pregnancies. Mm-hmm. I was great with where my family was. I didn't want to have any more children. I was perfectly content with the two that I have. And I didn't want to add to the family. So that is one of the questions the psychologist will ask you, like, well, do you want more kids? Mm-hmm. Because they want to make sure that there's no part of you that wants to, like, hold on to this baby. And there were contracts. The contract was huge. All these, like, this is not your baby. And everybody made sure along the way, they're like, this isn't your baby. I'm like, no, that's cool. I'm 40. I'm going to be 49. I don't want, like, to be up in the middle of the night with a newborn.
Yeah.
I don't want that life. That's not what I'm looking at. So, so I was prepared after the baby was born to be like, this will be easy separation because I don't want the sleepless nights and I'm happy. The end goal was to give Amy and George this baby. Mm-hmm. And that was the only end goal I had in mind. And after she was born, there was this connection, this maternal connection. I can't describe it any other way. I had been so protective the entire pregnancy that once she was out and I didn't have a baby or anything to protect or take care of anymore, your mind and your body are just like, what's going on? What's going on? It's wild.
Like the biology of it is just so crazy, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And excuse me. So even the nurses at the hospital, they were great. The nurses were great at the hospital, but there were a few that were like, this is not your baby. You have no, basically like no ties to it. I mean, even that biologically I had ties to it. But, legally, this is not your child. And they were very firm on that. And even when you, like, Google surrogacy, it's like, this is not your baby. You have no ties to this child. This child gets nothing from you. And it's very, very black and white. But this was very, there were so many shades of gray in it. As far as, once she was born, I was so happy for Amy and George. And they just settled into mom and dadhood so well. And, the scene in the delivery room was just overwhelming. Just when she let out her first cry, Amy just wailed, and the sound of her cry, Amy's cry, and even my cry on the table when they lifted her up so they could see her was like just this culmination of this journey that they had been on.
I need the tissues.
Tissue time. I'll have to show you the video later, but it's she just lets out this wail that can only be described as a mother who had been longing and never thought this moment would come. And then to see this baby let out her first cry and go, this is my child. This is my baby.
Yeah. And you delivered that to her. Like you were the reason why.
Yeah.
And so that's so powerful.
It's you know, again, I hate for age to play such a part in it, but it really does. It's I never thought that at 49 that I'd be giving birth to my niece's little girl.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Do you think it made it harder that you were related? Like with the nurses saying you have no ties to this baby, it's not like you were giving the baby to a family that you would never see or talk to again, really.
Right.
You have a relationship. Do you think that makes it easier or harder?
Easier.
Like in that way. Yeah.
Easier. I thought of that because after the process was over, I was like, I can't imagine doing it for a stranger. I wouldn't be able to do it for a stranger because you literally give birth to this child. In a lot of cases, you hand over that child and you don't see that child again and you don't get updates. And in some cases, you do. Some cases, they can still, you know, well, this is, you know, what she's up to and see some pictures. But with Amy and the baby, I can FaceTime them anytime I want. Mm-hmm. I get updates daily on what she's doing and pictures. And that has eased the separation for me, even though they're so far away. Mm-hmm. Letting, because we had her and then she was in NICU for a little bit, so I didn't really get to see her much in the hospital because she was up in NICU and I was recovering from a C-section. So I'd get up there every once in a while to see her, but the nurses were really taking care of her, so I never got a chance to be like one-on-one with her and just, you know, talk to her and be like, you're the little person that grew inside me, and just have that almost like a closure, if you will. Yes. So before they left, I had about a day with her at our house where we just kind of all hung out as a family, and she got to meet the girls, and that's a whole story too. My girls are 6 and 9, and they were so lovely and understanding about the whole process. They never wanted to keep the baby. They always knew the baby was going to be Aunt Amy and Uncle George's.
They did. That's like amazing that they could grasp that concept of the baby is going to live with another family. Yeah. But it was in mommy's belly. Right. So like, yeah.
Right. Wow. They knew that we called it their cousin from the very start, like, oh, your cousin's growing in mommy's belly because it can't grow in Aunt Amy's belly. And they would sing lullabies to the baby. They would lay belly to belly with me so they could feel the baby kicking. They would call Aunt Amy and say, oh, the baby kicked today. I got to tell you about it, and share stories about it with her. And it was so sweet. So then after the baby was born and they got to meet her, they held her. And when they left, they were sad. They were like, oh, I wish we could have kept her. Yeah. And then they were on to the next thing. It was just such a fleeting thing, like, oh, it's too bad we couldn't have kept her. And then that was it. Yeah. And then, now they just want all the updates. What's the baby doing? I want to see the baby. And so we FaceTime, we get pictures and videos. And
what a special relationship that you guys will all have, forever. Like, I think it's really incredible. I want to know about maybe some people that were kind of maybe, was anybody, like your family, your friends, was everyone positive and thinking like, yes, Joy, you should do this? Or were there people that were like, you are messing with God's plan? You are, I would think like any of the naysayers. You're too old. You can't do, what are you thinking? Like, why would you do this at 49? Was there anyone that was speaking out?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Yeah. So in the
peanut gallery was speaking up.
Yeah, there were a lot of people like that. And they changed their tune as time went on and they saw that I was safe. And that was the biggest thing later I learned in the moment, they were very like, why can't they just adopt? Just let them adopt. And, why do they have to go through this whole process? And why do they want to do this? And, you're too old. You shouldn't be doing this. What kind of effect is this going to have on your children? You're going to mess them up psychologically. You're bringing this child in. They think it's theirs, and then you're going to yank it away from them. And, all those things, people were in my ear saying it, and I was just like, okay, I don't need to hear all this noise, but, thanks for your opinion. But it didn't affect me in any way to go, oh, maybe they're right. I was just like, you guys, you don't understand. You don't understand the situation. And as time went on and the pregnancy went on, these people were still in my life, and they changed their tune and later came to me and said, we said everything we said out of fear. Yeah. We said it out of fear because we thought, something might happen to you. And nowhere during the pregnancy did I ever think about me. Like my husband said it the other day. He's like, well, yeah, it was dangerous. And I was like, I thought of like, I got to hold on to this baby. I got to keep this baby, keep the baby in there. I don't want anything to happen to the baby. But I never thought that I was risking anything.
You never thought that?
No, I never sat there and thought, what about my health? And what about, this? When I got a little bit of swelling early in the pregnancy and it lasted through the pregnancy, I was worried about it wasn't so much I was worried about me, but how is this going to affect the baby? Yeah. Because, we got to get to the finish line. But everything worked. I mean, the pregnancy, other than, I had terrible morning sickness, which again, like I said, I had totally forgotten how bad that could be.
Yes. So like the whole time or the first trimester?
Two trimesters. So it was about halfway through the second trimester. And
that's like me too. I did a lot of throwing up, and that is it's grueling. It was grueling.
It was bad. They gave me, Zofran. They gave me everything to try to help, and nothing helped. And I said, I'm just not gonna. I was very, very, very strict about what I put in my body because this baby had to be, safe and protected. So if I didn't have to take it, I wasn't going to take it. So Papa Zofran, I'm like, didn't work, so I'm not going to take any more type of thing.
Yeah, that's kind of how I did too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just didn't see any relief, so I'm just going to have to get through it. And my husband was a great supporter in saying, like, you did this before, you can get through it again. And then he would count it down and go, okay, you're at this many weeks now, and it's, it says that the morning sickness should stop around 22 to 24, and, you're at 18, you're at the finish line. Like, he would count it down for me each week. And I'm just like, it's not helping.
I'm so curious about his thoughts on everything. And like, he sounds like, I know Jeff. Mm-hmm. I've known Joy, backstory, I've known Joy a very long time. My husband actually went to high school with you.
Go
and
Falcons.
Then, I know. And then we met, later on. But, and I know your hubby. Mm-hmm. And, I just think that's pretty amazing too. Like he was accepting of all the phases, the sickness, everything that you were going to have to go through. Yeah. A third surgery, right? Because you had already had 2 C-sections.
Yes, 2 C-sections. Well, it was technically a fourth. I had a myomectomy before I got pregnant to remove a fibroid. And that incision is similar to a C-section. So they counted that as almost like a first C-section. So technically, this was my fourth, which is, usually they want you to stop at 3 or 4. They won't go past that. So I won't be able to be anybody else's surrogate after this. Although that's a story for another time. But yes, I actually thought about that. I was like, I would do it again. Let's have another one.
No way.
Yeah, and my doctor was like, no, you're good.
No. Oh my gosh. That's why you like Joy. It's just, you kind of said that you don't like being called selfless, but it's very a selfless act of love. And you even said that you are pumping milk for the baby, which is even taking it further on this whole like act of love that you are giving to your family. How is that process? Like, are you shipping it to them?
Yes, okay. Shipping to them. I guess part of it was selfless and part of it was selfish because it kind of helped me through the process because I didn't have something to take care of. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a baby to take home. And my OBGYN had said the highest risk of depression with mothers are mothers that don't bring home a baby from the hospital. Yeah. And they give birth, but they don't have a baby to take home. And he said, and you didn't take home a baby. And he was constantly checking in, like, how are you doing? How are you doing? I'm like, I'm good. But I wasn't. I was, very, very sad about the fact that I didn't have something to take care of. So the pumping helped me have a purpose, really, something to still feel like I'm connected to the baby in a way. Yeah. And pumped for her for 2 months, and then I'm starting to wean off of it now, and I've just been donating. The baby's good now with her stash out in Dallas.
Yeah,
we
but
shipped all that.
She's only 2 months old.
She's only 2 months old.
Only 2 months postpartum right now.
I am,
and I actually did not even realize that until we sat down, because I guess in my mind it had been a while since I'd seen that photo, and so I just in my mind was thinking she was older. Yeah. So this is so fresh for you.
Yeah.
And what is that moment like? What is the moment like when she comes out and you spend that last day kind of with her?
There's a very unflattering photo of me on my couch that my niece took, and I'm just like in pajamas, and I'm just like, I look like I'd been through like a battle, and I'm holding her, and they're getting ready to leave, and I'm just hysterical. I'm sobbing, hysterical. Almost, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It was just like giving away a piece of me. And, but I knew she was going home with them, and I was very happy about that. And I was really looking forward to what that life was going to look like for Amy and George and the baby. And, but there was just like a piece of my heart just like left with them when they left. And it was hard. It was super hard, but giving back the milk to them helped, because I felt like I was still giving something to her. I was still helping her. And now that she is 2 months old and she's thriving and she's, starting to laugh and smile at her mom and dad, it kind of, all those things that they send me are just reminders of why I did it. And even though it was hard in the end, I think that was probably the hardest part of the entire surrogacy journey, was the end. Was the closure. Yeah. And I'm still in the process of closure as far as like weaning off the pumping. And there's a part of you that goes, I'm closing this chapter not only just on the surrogacy, but my body's never going to be able to do this again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to carry another baby. I'm not going to be able to produce breast milk again. And it's just, it's the end of an era. Yeah. Really.
Yeah. I think so many women can relate to that in whatever way, shape, or form. Maybe they weren't a surrogate, or, but you do feel like at a certain point, like, yeah, this isn't going to happen. Right. I guess even if you think like, oh, it possibly could, you think of things in a different way. And, I did that. I decided not to have any more children. And I think about that like it's the end of a road, right, which feels hard, you know? Oh. I know, like I knew this was going to make me feel emotional. And I just am so honored that you would share your story. Of course. And, now you're 2 months postpartum. You're back at work. Yep. Right? Mm-hmm. See, I'm the one that's crying and you're not, you're okay.
No, get me on any topic with this surrogacy and I'll start crying, especially when I talk about the delivery. That was crazy.
Yeah. It sounds like such emotion, and that they were there and they got to see it all happen. Was Jeff in the room too?
No, he was. Okay. He was. It's a funny story. So, like you had said, he was so supportive through the entire journey, and the way that looked for him when we first got to the when I first presented him with the news that I was going to do this. Yeah. And it was more like, this is what I want to do. Let's talk about it. And we talked about it, and we went through all the pros and cons, and the cons were basically, you're 6 years older than you were when you had your last pregnancy. And so that was easy in your mind then. But now, what's that going to look like for you? Is that going to slow you down? Are you still going to be able to work? Are you still, or you think you're still going to be able to take care of the girls in the same capacity and be there for them? And I kept saying, oh, yeah, of course. And then when I was in the throes of the pregnancy, I was like slower, going upstairs. It was like, just carrying all the weight and not being able to be down on the floor and playing with them. It definitely took a toll on my body for sure. Yeah. But so after we had weighed all the pros and cons, he said, I'm not one to ever talk you out of something. And that's the great thing about our relationship is we might have opinions on what the other person is going to do, but at the same time, we have to respect that that's what that person wants to do, and who are we to say no? I mean, if he thought it was completely outlandish, he would have stopped it.
Yeah.
But he said, if you got the okay from your doctors, then who am I to say no?
Yeah.
And then as it all went on, I think he was like me. He was like, oh, wow, we are to the next step. And, oh, wow, you are pregnant, and celebrating all those milestones. But he was there for all the kicks, and he was there for all the morning sickness, and he handled it like a pro. But no, he was not in the room. He was not in the room for the surgery. You can only have two people. Actually, you can only have one person back there. But for the surrogacy, they allowed me one support person and then one of the intended parents. So obviously my support person was my niece, and the intended parent was her husband. So they could both be there.
That's special.
So she came a little earlier than expected. She was her due date was November 29th. That's 40 weeks. But because of my previous C-sections, they wanted to take her early, so they were going to take her on the 13th of November. Mm-hmm. And we went trick-or-treating, and after a very vigorous trick-or-treating, I went into labor.
Oh, wow.
And I had never been in labor before, so I didn't know what was happening. So, I'm up making school lunches for the next day, and next thing you know, I couldn't, talk. And I couldn't talk to Jeff about what I was, he's like, are you okay? I'm like, just give me a second. So when I called my doctor, he's like, you need to go to the hospital now. And at that point, everything unfolded really quickly. I had to call them in Dallas and say, you need to get on a plane now. Because they weren't expecting to be there for another week. So they had, a parenting class still to go to, and they had all these things that they were still prepping. And they ended up throwing all these things in a suitcase and jumping on a flight. And they got the contractions to slow down, and they were able to take her a day, 24 hours later. But Jeff had to stay with the girls, and that was the best place for him to be, was to stay home with our girls. So I knew that they were taken care of, and their routines weren't disrupted, and they were still going to school. And
you wouldn't have to worry about that part of it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I had Amy up there. I mean, because we're so close too. She was my support person, and I was her support person.
Yeah.
So we got to go through it all together.
Do you think when, you were talking about sobbing as the baby was leaving, do you think Amy was what do you think was going through her head? Do you think she realized there was more maybe attachment there than she expected, or?
I think she knew that there was an attachment there. Expectedly. There couldn't not be. And she was so... she was so gracious and generous through the entire process, as far as never being this isn't your baby. And, and she called me. She's like, we need to come up with a name for you. She's like, what could we call you? And so she started calling me Mama Joy. Oh. So and I felt weird at first. I was like, but I'm not her mom. You're her mom. And she's like, no, you're always going to be a mom to her. You're always going to have a part of her. You guys are always going to have this bond. And she's been so gracious in celebrating that part of it, and never being like, okay, step back. This is, it's our turn now. You've done your job, and, back off. But she'll still send me videos of the baby, and she'll be like, okay, Mama Joy, we're sitting here and we're doing this today, and, we're watching this, and we're about to take a bath. And so they send me these videos, and they calling me Mama. It's just, it's the sweetest bond that we're going to have. And, it's, she's another little piece of my heart.
Yeah. It's so special. Have you connected with any other surrogates or anything since you've been through this experience? I'm just curious what you would, I don't know, maybe give advice to, or would you, if someone was considering being a surrogate, would you absolutely say, do it?
I would.
You would.
And I think that's the part, I talked to you about it before the show. I said, when people say, oh my gosh, you're so amazing, you're a superwoman, you did this, you did that. And I'm like, it doesn't, I know how big this was. I know what a gift this was. And I recognize that. But there's a part of me that always goes, but wouldn't you consider doing it for somebody if you could?
Yeah.
And a lot of people have said, no, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah.
And I always told people when they were questioning me about it, when I first wanted to do it, they're like, are you sure? Are you sure? And I said, I realized that this could be hard on my body, hard on me, hard on the family. But it's like what? A year total as far as like all the testing I had to do and, start to finish. It's a year out of my life, but they get this baby forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seemed like such a natural thing, just like such a, like, why wouldn't I? It's just a year, like 1 year, and they get a whole life with this baby.
Yeah. That's why you're so special, Joy. Because I just think, no, not everyone would do that. And it's really amazing. And no, it's like, donating an organ or, I don't know. I just feel like that is, no, not everybody would do that.
I compared it to that when people were like, are you sure you want to? And I'm like, well, I mean, if you had a family member in need who needed a kidney, you'd donate it, wouldn't you? And they're like, well, how close are we? How much do I like that person? I know. It's so, it just seemed like a no-brainer to me. I was basically donating an organ. I donated my uterus to carry this baby, and we were successful. And I don't know what else to say. It was successful, and it still blows my mind. I was talking to somebody at a kid's birthday party over the weekend, and they kept saying, you're how old? And I was like, I know. And they're like, you're such a badass. I can't believe you did this.
Such a badass.
And I was like, and it was the first time I stopped and like thought and like sunk into it and said, you know what? I am a badass. I can't believe I did all that at 49, bringing up the age again.
49.
Yeah.
No, I love that because, I think collectively we're all told there's a expiration date on, having a baby and you prove that wrong. And I think it's incredible. And you had the confidence in your body that you could do it. I think that says a lot too. I think mindset probably has a lot to do with it. And, it would be easy to say at like 35, but 49 is a whole nother ballgame. I mean, I had my son at 36 and I was super high risk and, all of these
geriatric pregnancy.
Geriatric pregnancy.
Isn't that crazy?
You're like, I know what that is. Yeah, it is.
Advanced maternal age.
Yeah.
High risk.
Yes.
I heard all of it, and it was, all the extra testing and all the extra doctor's appointments you have to go to, and you sit there and think, I don't feel that old. I don't, I don't feel like I look that old. So, everybody's, harping on age. And it wasn't to say that we weren't without worries throughout the pregnancy. Like when the pregnancy first started, that was the other part. That was the other hardest part of the pregnancy was the worrying in the very beginning of, are we going to get to the next milestone, the next phase, the next step? Throughout the process of getting to the pregnancy, I wasn't as worried because everything just flowed. And like I said, it was like a domino effect. It was just, it all happened so fast. And I think I mentioned to you, I had gone out and got vetted by her doctor, and he passed away unexpectedly that night. And we got the call that like, he's not here anymore. And we're like, oh my gosh, this totally will derail us. And they're like, but don't worry. He had already put a succession in place for another doctor. And she picked up immediately.
Oh, wow.
And there was no hiccup. And so it was just, the process just continued to be seamless. And Amy and I were like, wow, like we couldn't believe just how smooth that went.
Wow. Like it was meant to be.
That's exactly how we always said. It was like, she still says, now she's like, this is the way it was always supposed to be. You were always supposed to be. Even after a uterus transplant and 3 failed other surrogates, you were always meant to be the one to carry this baby. And that's what blows my mind is I had never thought that I would be the one to make that wish come true for them.
Yeah. It's so interesting, but maybe because you spent so much time together when you were younger and like that seed was planted of, who knows if that would not have happened so early on and you wouldn't have had that relationship that you did.
Right.
Like, so I always find like life is amazing like that, because it's a series of synchronicities and signs and,
Yeah. The bond that she has with my girls, it's incredible. I still find myself when It's kind of like if you're around family who has a Southern accent and then you go visit them and you come back and you've got a Southern accent. When Amy comes to visit, I end up calling my oldest Amy.
Oh.
Instead of Hannah, I'll say Amy, and then I'll catch myself because I grew up with her, and she was like my first little baby to take care of. Like, she was my little sister. And that's what we call each other is, I'm her big sister and she's my little sister. And which caused a lot of confusion in the beginning with all the doctors. They were like, wait, she's your sister? She's your aunt? What kind of weird family dynamic is this?
Yeah, right? Like, what's happening?
Here? So her relationship, it's amazing too, because when my girls were born, and even still today, my girls look so much like her. And we're like, what is this weird family dynamic and genetics that my kids look more like you than they look like me or Jeff?
Yeah.
What happened?
Isn't that interesting?
It's really, so that increases the bond that she has with my girls. I'm like, you see, even my girls look like you.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh, so special.
It's so special.
Her mother, your sister,
Yep.
Was she always supportive of everything?
She was very supportive. I think she was very, she had seen them, and Amy was the same way. They had so many setbacks and so many disappointments that I think they were afraid to get their hopes up too much. Like, they didn't want to get too excited too soon. So my sister, even up to the transfer day, she was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Let's see what happens. But she never wanted to put too much of herself into it, because I think she was afraid of being disappointed as well. Same with Amy and George. And then when we finally got to it, I mean, it's just, she's been so thankful and so grateful that I did this. And all my brothers and sisters we're on a group text. And when we told them the news that, I was carrying the baby, they were like, no way, get out of here. You're not serious. And then I had my oldest brother, he showed up to one of my first ultrasounds where we got to see the baby. So my sister, Amy's mom, and my brother showed up to the ultrasound, and that was pretty special to share that with them, because they're like, our kid's sister is 49 and she's carrying our niece's baby. Like, what is this life?
It's an incredible story. It really is. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with?
Well, you had mentioned about being surrogacy, like about being a surrogate, or, my feelings on surrogacy and somebody else doing it. And my idea is, if you are able to do it, it would be a gift. I mean, be healthy, be ready, emotionally and physically, especially emotionally, I would say. And if you can give yourself like that to somebody else, to give them a baby, and they've gone through this process and they've had heartbreak and let down, it's to see it all come full circle. There's no greater feeling than that. So I would encourage anybody who's able to do it, if you can. Yeah. Just, or even just be nice to somebody today. I mean, if you can't give your body to carry a baby, at least be nice to somebody today, Do something
kind.
Nice. Be kind. Just be kind.
I feel like you could be a really amazing, first of all, I feel like you should write a book about this whole experience. Joy, you're going to write a book for sure. David said that too. He was like, she's got to write a book. I'm like, I know. I think you could be, I'm just thinking, because you are so giving, and I think it could help, so many more people, but, helping others maybe through this decision, and just how special it is. Like, I still can't believe it. I remember just scrolling and being like, well, hold up. Like, what did I do? Okay.
Well, that's a funny note to end on, is people were reaching out to Jeff and saying, congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your third. And he's like, no. So he loved to tell the joke, it's not mine.
Yeah.
It's not my baby.
Yeah.
And, he was met with, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then he'd be like, but it's not hers either. So that was,
people are like, what? Like, mind blown, probably.
The girls going to school and telling them that my mom is having a baby, but it's not my dad's, and they're not going to keep it, was just, that was hilarious, because then I've got teachers, on Class Dojo going, okay, so she said the wildest thing. I don't know what this means. So when they started the new school year, we had to go in and tell everybody, we're like, yes, I'm a surrogate for their aunt. And so then everybody was brought up to date. But that was the going joke in the family was, it's not my baby.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I do want to know, we'll kind of wrap up on this, but and I feel like we could go on, there could be a part 2. You're going to write a book, so we're going to know more about the story, but how are you supporting your body like in this phase and you know, after having a baby and pumping and all, you know, what are you doing for yourself? I feel like you deserve whatever.
Oh, that's a good question.
Whatever you want. Weekly massages? No.
I know.
What are you doing? I mean, is there like, I feel like maybe some therapy, like.
I've been thinking about that. I think therapy would be really good to work through some of the lingering emotions that I still have. It's just a weird, like it's so layered. I'm so happy for them. I'm so happy they have this baby, and I just need to figure out why I feel sad. Like, why do I feel sad? And I can only take it back to the fact that, you know, I didn't bring home a baby, which is so messes with your mind because you're like, but I didn't want a baby.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring home a baby. I don't want those sleepless nights. I don't want those early days. I don't want to have to go through everything all over again because we're in a great spot with, you know, with where the girls are. Of course. And, but there's just a lingering sadness about, you know, just surrounding all of it. And then, you know, stopping the pumping journey, like I had mentioned, and it just being all over. But I think by talking about it and talking about the journey and talking about just everything start to finish, it makes me happy to talk about it. And I think it's part of the healing is talking about it. So I think the more people I share that with, the more it heals me, just like piece by piece.
Yeah. Well, I hope today was a good.
It was very healing, very cathartic.
Yeah, like a healing piece of the puzzle for you. One last question, because this is the cinnamon effect. So, and I use cinnamon as a metaphor to what I think makes life sweeter, healthier, more fulfilling.
I put it on my coffee every morning.
Oh, you do? You're another one that loves the cinnamon. I love this. Cinnamon. I love this. What is your cinnamon effect?
Oh. What do I do to make life sweeter?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's probably cliche, but just spending time with my husband and my kids is always a good time, no matter what we're doing. If we're just, you know, sitting around the house and just joking and just, you know, eating in and just telling jokes or whatever it is, that adds. It's making me smile right now even talking about it. That adds cinnamon to my life. And just being around my family, just growing up with such a big family too, just even our daily group chats are just off the wall and wild, and you never know where they're going to go. So
I love that.
So family for sure. And I think that is really the bow on this whole thing is, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about family.
Yeah. I can't wait to see how your story evolves and the relationship with the baby and your own family.
I'm going to visit her next month.
You are.
I am. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, that's so special. I love that for you. I thank you so much for coming,
Thanks
Joy.
For having me.
I think everyone's probably so proud of you and what you did, and it's just amazing. Go write that book. Go start.
You want to help me? I don't even know where to start.
No,
I've started kind of just like putting thoughts together about it, but you know, if I wrote it, I want it to be not just a story about like my journey, but how it could help somebody else.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Is it for somebody who's out there wondering if they should be a surrogate or should they choose surrogacy for their family?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, or if it's just about the fertility journey in general that people, you know, struggle with that never talk about it because, you know, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and there's so many layers. We could have dove into any part of it, but I think it was a great, more kind of the emotional aspect of what you did. So I think it's really special.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy Groover.
Thank you, Kimberly.
If you guys like this episode, please rate, review, share it with somebody you love, and we'll see you next time on The Cinnamon Effect.